My name is Eliza Hart, and I'm 27. The night my boyfriend said, no phones, no recordings. What happens at the bachelor party dies at the bachelor party. I didn't argue. I didn't beg for transparency or pretend to be chill. I washed a wine glass we weren't using and dried it until the stem squeaked against the towel. In my head, I drew a clean line with a carpenter's pencil. Dark, straight, indelible. Cole liked rules when he wrote them. He said the phone ban was standard, that guys get weird when cameras are out. His best man, Austin, had organized something tasteful. Tasteful was doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Babe, Cole said, leaning in like he was reassuring a skittish horse. It's just karaoke and dumb props. You know how bachelor parties get. I just don't want any out-of-context clips at my firm. I understand, I told him. The words were correct and empty. He kissed my forehead the way men do when they're telling you to be a good girl and not ask follow-up questions. What lodged in me wasn't the rule, it was the echo. Cole repeated it 3 times that week, like a spell that only worked if he said it often. No phones, no evidence. He rolled it out at dinner, in the car, and once, while tying his tie, eyes on his reflection, like he needed convincing too. Then Austin slipped. We were at a couples game night. Charcuterie board, beers sweating rings into the table, everyone pretending to enjoy the card prompts. Someone played Never Have I Ever, and Austin, already pink around the ears, laughed. Never have I ever hired entertainment that needed NDAs. The room hiccuped. Cole shot him a look sharp enough to cut fruit. Austin blinked, then tried to write it back. For, the corporate retreat. HR required. Wild, right? I set down my glass. The stem didn't squeak this time. The pencil line in my head got darker. That night, I lay awake with my face to the cool side of the pillow and counted the ways a person tells you the truth without meaning to. Repetition. Over-explanation. Jokes that arrive with a flinch. I wasn't a cop, or nosy, or controlling. I was a woman who labels things and files receipts and knows that privacy is not the same as secrecy. I opened my laptop and searched for the kind of help you don't ask your friends to recommend. The man in the photo looked like a retired history teacher who could win at poker without blinking. Hank. His reviews read like burned sugar, bitter and true. He answered on the second ring. Evening. I need to hire a private investigator, I said. Tonight. Bachelorette or bachelor? Bachelor. He made a sound that could have been a laugh. Half the time it's nothing. The other half, our cameras become marriage counselors. $500 flat, I said, quoting his site. Inside contact. Photos, video, or a report. You said you could do it even if they banned phones. I did, he said, and I can. You'll have something by morning, or my apology and a refund. Don't get me your apology, I said, and surprised myself with how steady I sounded. Cole left Friday in a tuxedo t-shirt and a grin that thought it was safe. He kissed me at the door, palms warm against my jaw. Don't wait up. Love you. Have fun, I said, and watched him skip the elevator like a teenager and take the stairs 2 at a time. The door swung shut, the air stilled, and my apartment became the kind of quiet you get right before a bridge implodes in a documentary. Everything intact until it isn't. I didn't pace. I made tea. I folded the blanket at the foot of the couch. I watered the single monstera leaf that refuses to die. When I finally slept, it was the sleep of someone waiting for a fire alarm she already hears in her bones. At 8:12 a.m., my phone buzzed with a number, not in my contacts. This is H. You should see this before he gets home. Coffee shop on 3rd. 10 minutes. No emojis, no dramatic preamble, just coordinates. Hank sat in the corner with a laptop and an expression that said he wished he was wrong. Ms. Hart, he said, standing, hat in his hands, like the century had gone back a little while I was sleeping. I'm sorry. He didn't say for what. He turned the screen. The club had plush booths, low gold light, a stage lit like a secret. No phones only meant no amateur footage. It didn't mean you couldn't wire the bartender or plant a lens high and, I don't know, get clever. Austin was easy to spot. Loud shirt, louder laugh, every gesture sized for an audience. Cole wore the white groom sash with theatrical reluctance, like mock humility borrowed from someone else's personality. And then the dancers arrived, women in glittering 2-piece costumes, not tawdry so much as precise, the way professionals are. The footage didn't leer. It simply observed. I watched Cole accept a body shot with both hands behind his back like a prayer pose. I watched him spin a dancer by the wrist, flush and grinning. I watched him lean into a woman with copper hair and a star tattoo at her hip. She put a finger to his lips. He nodded. The room around them blurred, as if the camera understood what mattered. The audio kicked in, clean as a confession. Austin's voice. Last night to eat dessert first, Cole. Make it count. Cole's. Eliza's a saint. She'll never know. Copper hair, Marissa, per Hank's time-stamped notes, laughed against his mouth. You boys and your saints. He kissed her like he had found his religion. The clip jumped. Hallway carpet with a pattern designed to hide stains. A hotel key card. Our hotel chain. I recognized the branding, because of course I did, because I make the reservations and save the folio PDFs. Cole's hand at Marissa's lower back, the groom sash tucked in his pocket like a mandate expired. They went in at 1:07 a.m. He left at 3:11, hair a little messier, shirt untucked. He adjusted his belt. I think I let out a sound. Not a sob, not a gasp. Something smaller. The noise furniture makes when you move it over a rug. There's more, Hank said softly, but you don't need more. I closed the laptop with 2 fingers and set my palm flat on the lid like I was blessing it. Is this legal? I asked, because the part of my brain that alphabetizes the spice rack was still awake, still doing her job. Recording with consent from an employee in the venue is, Hank said. The hallway was from security, shared for safety. You didn't obtain anything illegally. I showed you. Right. We also have audio of Austin talking to the manager about NDAs, he added, and a few minutes of Cole telling the guys, and I quote, what Eliza doesn't know won't hurt her. I can send you the drive. Send it. I paid, because deals were deals, and because the universe respects a ledger even when hearts don't. Hank slid a small black USB across the table like a priest passing a relic. Outside, the light had the washed-out look of a morning that didn't earn its brightness. I walked home through the park and thought about rebar. Every building hides its skeleton, steel bent and bound to keep weight from making liars of walls. I had believed Cole and I were poured level, plumb, square. The problem with cracks is that once you see one, you start finding hairlines everywhere. Cole came home Sunday afternoon with a hangover fashioned as a personality. Jokey, fragile, performative remorse before anyone asked for it. Wild but tame, he said into my hair, hugging me too long. We did nothing insane. Honestly, I'm more tired than anything. I said, and tucked my chin so he couldn't read my face. He pulled back to study me anyway. You good? Just wedding stress. You sure? His eyes flicked, my phone on the table, the laptop closed, my mouth too even. You seem, I don't know, different. I kissed his cheek. I'll live. That night, Austin called with the fake casual of a man testing fences. Hey, Eliza, quick question about the groomsmen's gifts? We finalized those weeks ago. Totally. I just, did anyone say anything to you about the party? People talk, you know. What would they say? Silence, a swallow. Nothing, just checking in. I let him hang in the quiet until he pulled the ripcord and bailed. My hands didn't shake. My breath stayed even, like I'd trained it. I put the USB in a velvet ring box and slid the box into the pocket of a coat I never wear. Then I texted Richard Hartwell, Cole's father, the man who taught his son to tie a tie and still irons his own shirts because some rituals are holy. Can you and Diane come by tomorrow, I typed. I need to show you something before Thursday. He replied in 5 minutes. We'll be there at 6. The line in my head became a plan, straight as scaffolding, strong enough to climb. Have your privacy, Cole had said. I would, and I would keep mine, the kind that means dignity. Thursday's rehearsal dinner would have a projector, and I would not be the one to press play. Richard and Diane arrived at 6 on the dot, the way people do when they've lived by clocks long enough to respect what time can take from you if you dawdle. He wore a navy blazer that still held the press from a good dry cleaner. She had a Tupperware of lemon bars like this was a pastoral visit instead of a controlled demolition. I poured water. Diane's wedding bracelet chimed against the glass. I knew it from photos. She'd lent it to me once for something borrowed. There are kindnesses that become artifacts when the story changes. I need you to watch something, I said, and placed the velvet ring box on the coffee table. Richard's eyes went to it, then to my face. He didn't touch the box. He nodded once, permission without pressure. I played the video. I watch them watching it. It's a particular cruelty to witness the moment a father's spine learns a new shape. Richard's jaw didn't clench. It settled, like a drawbridge lowering. Diane pressed 2 fingers to her lips the way people do in church when the priest lifts the host. When the hallway footage showed Cole leaving at 3:11, she made a small sound. Hope cracking, not quite a sob. The audio. Austin's laugh, Cole's voice, Marissa's purr. Diane whispered, "Oh, sweetheart," and I couldn't tell if she meant me or the son she thought she knew. I paused the video. "There's more, but you don't need more." Richard stood, paced to my window, and looked out at the street like it had answers. He turned back with the calm of a man deciding to land a burning plane on a river. "The wedding is off." Diane flinched as if the words had weight. "Richard!" "It's off," he repeated. "We are not financing a pageant of vows he violated last night." I swallowed. "If I cancel now, he'll know it's me. He'll have days to reframe it, and frankly, he will. He's good at tone." Richard studied me. "You want to do it at the rehearsal dinner?" I held his gaze. This is where decent people worry about cruelty. This is where women are asked to be graceful while bleeding. "I want to do it where the lies were invited to eat," I said, "in front of the circle that was supposed to carry us." He wrote a rule. He can live with the rule. Diane's eyes shone. "He loves you," she whispered to the coffee table, to herself, to no one. He must. "Diane," Richard said gently, sitting beside her. "Our son can love and still be unworthy. Those 2 truths often drink from the same glass." She cried then, quietly, the way mothers cry, when earthquakes rearrange maps they thought were permanent. She reached for my hand. "I'm so sorry." Richard cleared his throat. "Let me handle the logistics. I'll ask the restaurant to set up the projector under the guise of a slideshow. I'll put together a montage. Birthdays, school plays." He grimaced at the word plays. "And then we will tell the truth." He looked at me. "Are you strong enough for this to happen with you in the room?" "Yes," I said. "Strength isn't the absence of shaking." He nodded like a general reading a weather report he didn't like but could still fight through. Then Thursday at 6. They left with the ring box. On their way out, Diane touched the door jamb like it could bless her. Richard paused. "Eliza?" "Yes?" "Whatever happens, you are not the person who should be ashamed." After they were gone, my apartment resumed the pose of a room before a storm. I cleaned the kitchen because control is sometimes a rag on a counter. I changed the sheets because dignity deserves a crisp bed. I slept poorly and woke with my heart wearing a runner's shoes. Monday evening, Cole approached me like a salesman who'd decided his product was emotions. "You've been quiet," he said. "Everything okay?" "Wedding week," I said, smiling like a woman on a magazine cover. "Nerves." He laughed, relief bubbling. Right, it's a lot. Hey, I've been thinking." He leaned against the counter, performed casual. "I should confess something before we do the whole forever thing." I raised an eyebrow. Confess. At the party, Austin hired dancers. He said it fast, like ripping a bandage off an artery. "I didn't want to tell you because I know how it looks, but it was just a dumb surprise. Honestly, it was tame, more hilarious than hot." I said, like the concept of humor had just been described to me. "Just dancing?" He nodded so vigorously the lie wobbled. "God, yes. I was awkward about it. You know me and attention." He wove his fingers through mine, squeezed. "I want us to start with no secrets." "That's sweet," I said, and watched guilt try to decide whether to bloom or curdle in his eyes. It couldn't pick. It chose performance. He cooked my favorite pasta that night and nearly set the kitchen towel on fire, turning to kiss my cheek. Tuesday, Austin called. "Eliza, quick thing. What size cufflinks did we land on?" We had landed on engraved tie bars, but I let him dangle. He pivoted. "Also, casually, nobody said anything weird to you about the party, right? Like, outside of our group?" "What would they say, Austin?" I asked. I let the quiet marinate until he hung up with a laugh that sounded like a tire losing air. That afternoon, Cole escalated to affection, like it was damage control. Flowers arrived. Peonies. Expensive and unseasonal. He lit candles I didn't like and called it ambiance. "I am so excited to make you my wife," he said, each word placed carefully, like stepping stones across a river. He touched me with reverence borrowed from a better man. I stepped back. "I'm exhausted," I said, and closed our bedroom door with the soft certainty of a boundary. He stood in the hallway whispering something apologetic to the air. Wednesday morning, the new tactic became confession's sequel, reassurance. He sat me down, eyes glass bright. I thought about your face during the party, he said, lying with my name in his mouth. I didn't want to get this wrong. So, full disclosure, they did a body shot on me. Stupid. Peer pressure. Austin's an idiot. Just a shot, I said. Just that, he said, relieved to be cradled in the smallness of his edit. You believe me? I believe something, I said. He blinked. What does that? Cole, I said softly, and watched how quickly he loved his name when it was shaped like a pardon. We're getting married in 3 days. I'm not going to let Austin's sense of humor ruin what we've built. He surged forward and hugged me like a lifeboat. His breath smelled like mint and staging. That night, he borrowed my phone because his died. He checked my messages with the casual hunger of someone hoping their nightmare is already scripted and he can just read his lines. He found nothing. Of course he found nothing. I wasn't writing this down for him to discover. I was building a room he would walk into. Thursday morning, he made breakfast, kissed my shoulder, murmured, "Tomorrow you're mine," like I was a prize and not a person choosing him. At 2 p.m., Richard called Cole. I heard Cole sigh from the bathroom where I was curling my hair, each strand a decision. Now, Dad, I'm getting a haircut. Can it wait? Okay, on my way. He returned an hour later lighter, looser, as if whatever Richard had said soothed him. Dad's being sentimental, he said, rolling his eyes. He had his little pre-wedding meltdown. It's fine. I smiled into the mirror and tucked a pin into place. A woman's armor is often pretty and sharp in small, invisible ways. The restaurant was one of those polished wood places with old framed photos of people who had never eaten there. Private room in the back. 40 people. Candles and glasses that made everyone look better than their decisions. We did practice toasts because I insisted. People found my insistence adorable. Be adorable as a costume rage wears before it learns to speak. Cole looked devastating in a tailored suit, the specific brand of handsome that makes strangers invent fairy tales about you. He held my hand under the table. I let him. Diane touched my wrist. You look radiant, she whispered. Her eyes were swollen. Her smile was sourced from a place beyond her own life. Love makes mothers bilingual like that. Toasts, laughter, the hum of plates. Then Richard stood. The room obeyed without knowing why. Some men carry a silence that instructs. I'd like to share something special for my son and his future, he said, voice steady, words chosen with tweezers. A little walk through time. Cole beamed. Oh, Dad, he said, performative embarrassment, a boy again. Around us, people cooed. The screen lit. Baby bath, first steps, soccer team with crooked teeth. The room softened. Then the cut. A stage under amber light. Groom sash. Austin's laugh. Marissa's star tattoo. The music of the room dropped a register, the way you hear the ocean when a wave is about to break. Turn it off, Cole said, radiance gone. Dad, turn it off. Richard didn't move. This, he said to the guests, clear and calm, was last Friday at 11:47 p.m. The audio rolled. Last night to eat dessert first, Cole, make it count. Someone dropped a fork. The metal sounded like a bell. Cole stood halfway, sat, stood again. Deepfake, Austin blurted, voice panicked. That's a deepfake. People can... The hallway footage answered him. The key card answered him. The timestamp answered him. The truth came in committee. Diane covered her mouth and finally sobbed, from somewhere ancient. A cousin said, "Oh my God," like it was both prayer and swear. I kept my eyes on the water glass in front of me. The candle reflected in it wavered and steadied and wavered. There's more, Richard said, and the less he raised his voice, the smaller the room became. But we've seen enough. The wedding is canceled. Cole turned to me then, mascara not streaming because men's mascaras live on the inside. Eliza, baby, he said, automatic and grotesque. We can explain the part where I'm a saint who doesn't need to know, I asked softly. I didn't look up. I didn't need to. Everyone else was doing enough looking for me. Across the table, Austin started typing on his phone like truth could be texted into a different shape. Troy, Cole's younger brother, stood, fists balled, furious at the wrong person. You humiliate him in front of everyone? He spat at me. Before I could answer, Derek, my closest friend in the bridal party, rose like a verdict. "The kind of person who doesn't marry cheaters," he said. The sentence landed with a thud and a cheer that no one voiced. Chairs scraped. Someone cried in Italian. A great-aunt prayed. The air had the burnt sugar smell of something gone too far in the oven. I stood, finally, not dramatic, just tall enough to see over the wreckage. "Richard," I said, and nodded my thanks. He inclined his head, the old-world gesture of men who could teach their sons how to be worthy and know when they weren't. I walked out without looking back. If I had, I might have stayed to collect Diane off the floor of her grief. If I had, I might have mistaken pity for mercy. Instead, I let the door swing shut on the last room where I would ever sit quietly while a man told me what privacy meant. Outside, the night had teeth. I bared mine back. The next morning should have been my wedding day. Instead, it was a Friday that smelled like rain and paperwork. The dress hung in the closet like an accusation. Lace, ivory, uncreased, bought with love that had expired before the tags came off. By 8 a.m., my phone was an autopsy report. 47 messages, 22 missed calls, all from Cole. The first few were apologetic. "Please, Eliza, I was drunk. It didn't mean anything." Then bargaining. "We can fix this. Therapy, a post-nup. I'll prove myself." Then blame. "You humiliated me. You ruined both of us." And finally venom. "You'll die alone. No one will ever love you like I did." That one made me laugh, quietly, into my coffee. "Love me like you did," as if that was a selling point. Austin texted next. "Girl code goes both ways. What you did was illegal. You'll hear from a lawyer." I sent him a voice clip in response. A single, crystal-clear line from the rehearsal dinner audio. "What Eliza doesn't know won't hurt her." He blocked me 5 minutes later. But I wasn't free of it. Not even close. By noon, social media had turned into an ecosystem of half-truths. Troy, the little brother who defended Cole like a cornered dog, posted, "My brother's psycho ex hired a private investigator to stalk him and fabricated a video. If you think that's love, you're as sick as she is." The post went semi-viral in our city. People who didn't even know us weighed in like jurors at a public hanging. Modern women are unhinged. She probably cheated first. Men can't even party anymore without getting spied on. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because by dusk, Derek, bless his moral compass, had commented under Troy's post with screenshots, Cole's texts, the time-stamped apology, the one that said, "You're right, it happened. I hate myself." The internet turned like a tide. Troy deleted his post, but screenshots have half-lives longer than plutonium. Meanwhile, the professional world caught up. Cole worked for a high-end construction firm with strict reputation clauses. Someone, not me, sent HR the rehearsal dinner footage. By Monday, he was temporarily suspended pending review. I didn't even feel vindicated. It just felt quiet. Then came the lawsuit. A courier handed me a thick envelope with my name typed too neatly. Cole Hartwell. V. Eliza Hart. Civil claim for emotional distress and invasion of privacy. He was suing me for showing his parents what he did, for hurting his reputation. I called my attorney, Jeremy, a man whose humor was sharp enough to shave with. He skimmed the papers, chuckled once, and said, "This will last 5 minutes in court. He cheated. He admitted it in writing. He has no case except stupidity." He was right. It was dismissed the same week, with the judge scolding his lawyer for wasting the court's time. Cole had to pay my legal fees, $3,500. But he didn't stop. He started showing up at my gym, at my coffee shop, at the bookstore where I bought poetry I didn't even read. Always by coincidence. Always loud enough for me to hear him spinning his story. "She's obsessed with control," he'd say to whatever woman was unlucky enough to be his audience. "Probably watches the video every night." The first few times, I left. The third time, I looked him in the eye and said, "If you say my name in public again, I'll let your HR department know you still haven't returned their company credit card." He stopped showing up after that. But Austin didn't. He called again, voice hoarse, desperate. "You ruined my career," he hissed. "I got fired. Someone leaked the footage to our boss. They think I ran a stripper ring." I said evenly, "Maybe because you did." Turns out the PI, Hank, had turned over additional evidence. A record of Austin coordinating special entertainment for 3 separate bachelor parties. He'd called it Last Chance Romance. "People always ask for one last taste," Hank said when he called to update me. "Austin made it his business. You were just the first bride who didn't play dumb. He paused. You want to press charges? I thought about it, then said, no, let the world handle him. And it did. The following week, Cole's version of the story started to decay. First, someone in his company leaked an internal email. Subject, conduct review. Unprofessional behavior. Then, his mother, Diane, commented under one of Troy's defensive posts. We love our son, but we don't support his actions. Please stop attacking Eliza. She's shown more grace than he deserves. The internet exploded again. Half the city screenshotted the comment. It was better than any statement I could have written. By week's end, the quiet came back. My apartment no longer smelled like him. My heartbeat had stopped mistaking itself for a countdown. The wedding deposit, I discovered, was non-refundable, but transferable. So I transferred it to a women's shelter downtown, under Eliza Hartwell Donation Fund. The receipt said, for rebuilding after destruction. That night, I met Hank for coffee. My first time seeing him since the morning of the footage. He tipped his hat, same as before. How's life after war? He asked. Strange, I said. Peace always is. He smiled. For what it's worth, miss, I've done this job 30 years. Nobody handles it cleaner than you did. I thought about the projector, about Diane's tears, about Cole's voice cracking when he said, baby, please. I nodded once. Clean isn't the same as painless. He looked at me with something like respect. No, he said, but it's close to justice. Outside, the night smelled like possibility, a scent I'd forgotten. And as I walked home, the word that settled in my chest wasn't revenge. It was done. 2 weeks passed before the next storm hit. Just when I'd started believing the silence might last, Emma, Cole's cousin, sent me a message that began with, I don't know if I should be telling you this, but... That sentence never ends well. Cole's telling people you're pregnant, she wrote. He's saying it's his, and you're threatening to terminate out of spite. I reread it twice, the way you check a locked door even when you know it's locked. We hadn't been intimate for over a month before the wedding imploded. The math wasn't fuzzy. It was impossible. He's really saying that? I typed back. Yes, even his brother doesn't believe him anymore, but he's unraveling. Lost the apartment, maybe the job. The message ended with, stay safe. A week later, Troy confirmed it. He texted from an unknown number. I owe you an apology. You were right about him. Mom and Dad have gone no contact. He's sleeping on friends' couches, saying you ruined his life. I found a negative test in his trash. He's not well. It should have made me feel triumphant. Instead, it made me feel tired. Because the truth about men like Cole is that they don't fall. They dissolve. They rot inward, turning guilt into storytelling, shame into performance. By the time you look up, they've rewritten the script and cast themselves as the victim. Then came the knock. It was a Sunday night. I was halfway through folding laundry when the doorbell rang 3 times, sharp, impatient. When I opened it, Cole was there, with Marissa, the dancer from the footage. The hallway lights made everything look too bright, too exposed. Marissa wore jeans and a hoodie, her copper hair tied back. Cole looked wrecked. Stubble, dark circles, the kind of disarray that isn't romantic, just desperate. We need to talk, he said. No, I said, and started to close the door. Marissa put a hand on it, not forceful, just enough to make me pause. Eliza, she said softly, he told me you were okay with everything, that you two had an arrangement. I didn't know until later it was a lie. Cole turned on her. What are you doing? What I should have done from the start, she said. Then to me, I'm sorry. He said you had an open relationship, that you both agreed to one last weekend before the wedding. I laughed. I couldn't help it. An open relationship? Cole, we had matching robes and a joint Costco membership. That's as wild as it got. Marissa's face fell. God, I'm so stupid. No, I said, you were misled. He's good at that. Cole's voice sharpened. Eliza, stop pretending you're innocent in all this. You humiliated me. I told the truth, I cut in. There's a difference. He took a step forward, but Marissa moved between us. Don't, she said. You lied to me, to her, to everyone. I'm done. She turned back to me. I quit dancing last week. Got a new job. I just wanted to say I'm sorry to your face. Her eyes were clear, steady. It was the most honest moment in months. Thank you, I said. That means more than you think. Cole muttered something, but she ignored him, walking toward the elevator with a small nod. He hesitated, like a boy who'd lost his place in the world. You win, he said. Happy? No, I said, holding the door. Peaceful. That's different. And then I closed it. By midweek, the last of his allies started falling away. Troy posted something cryptic. Sometimes blood isn't family. Diane sent me a handwritten note. You were the only one who told us the truth, even when it hurt. We're grateful. Please take care of yourself. And Richard called. His voice was rough, like someone who hadn't slept properly in weeks. He's gone, Eliza, he said. Left town. Don't know where yet. But you don't have to worry. We're done enabling him. I thanked him, but what I wanted to say was something gentler. I'm sorry you lost a son, even if he did it to himself. A month passed. I started therapy, bought new sheets, learned that grief can feel like relief wearing a borrowed coat. Then, just when I thought the story had written its last line, the world found another page. Cole was arrested. Vandalism and public intoxication. He'd mistaken someone else's car for mine and keyed it. 3 deep cuts down the driver's side, spelling liar. The woman pressed charges. She didn't even know him. Richard called again, his voice small. He's in county jail for the weekend. Diane's heartbroken. We're trying to get him into rehab. Will he go? Only if a judge tells him to. Days later, an unknown number texted me. This is Cole. Borrowed a phone. Going away for a while. Treatment or jail depends on the court. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Actually, no. I wanted to say you ruined everything. But also, I heard what you said at the dinner, that I called you a saint. You knew I was faking it, didn't you? Why'd you stay? I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Because I loved who I thought you were. His reply came instantly. I was her sometimes. Sometimes wasn't enough, I wrote. Then I blocked the number. The next morning, I walked to the cafe on 3rd, the same one where Hank had first shown me the video. He was there again, same corner, same hat. Miss Hart, he greeted, smiling. You look lighter. Maybe because I am, I said. He nodded. The truth's heavy at first, then it carries itself. I ordered a coffee, black, no sugar. For once, I didn't need sweet to survive the bitter. Months later, I met someone new. Not a grand romance, just a good man named Daniel from my hiking group. We cook dinner on Sundays, talk about mountains instead of mistakes. He doesn't make promises he can't keep. One night, after telling him the whole story, he said, the saddest part isn't what he did, it's what he had, and how little it meant to him. I smiled. He had everything. A home, a family, someone who loved him, and he threw it all away for a night with a stranger. Daniel reached for my hand. His loss built your freedom. Maybe it did. Richard and Diane sent me a Christmas card that year. Inside, Diane had written, our daughter-in-law in all but name. Thank you for showing us the truth, even when it hurt. I pinned it on my fridge. Not as a trophy, but as proof that light can still come from ruin. Hank texted me last week. Saw the news about your ex? Still the easiest $500 I ever made. The man practically filmed himself. I laughed for the first time in months. An honest, unguarded sound. Because in the end, Cole didn't just destroy our wedding. He destroyed the illusion that love without integrity can stand. He brought the shovel, I built the exit, and I walked out clean.